Welcome to the August edition of What's in Bloom at the Ruth Bancroft Garden. Each month we put together a selection of 21 plants that are in bloom in that particular month, and we put those on a sheet. And we hand this sheet out to our visitors when they come to the garden. So we're going to run through some of the selections of the August What's in Bloom at the Ruth Bancroft Garden, such as this beautiful Aloe cooperi. So this is a very large example of one of South Africa's grass aloes, and in full bloom right now. Aloes occur quite widely in Africa, especially in southern Africa and East Africa, but they also occur to the north on the Arabian Peninsula. And this is one, Aloe lavranosii, that comes from Yemen. And it's extraordinary for how densely hairy the flowers are, especially at their tips. We have both a yellow-flowered and a red-flowered form of Aloe lavranosii. This is the red-flowered one. And as we film this in late July, the flowers have not quite opened yet, but they're very soon going to be opening. And this is an aloe that isn't commonly seen in cultivation, but its extraordinary hairy flowers make it worth seeking out. Aloe lavranosii. When Bruce Beyer wrote his seminal work, Haworthia Revisited, he observed that the plants that were then placed in Haworthia fell into three different floral groups. So one of these was his subgenus Robusta peduncularis, referring to the fact that they have extra thick, tall inflorescences. The flower stalk is the peduncle. So here we have Tulista pumila, which is from that subgenus Robusta peduncularis, and now it's been renamed as a genus Tulista. So although it's not a large plant, it is large for a Haworthia. And the flower stalk has multiple branches, which regular Haworthias do not have. This comes from South Africa, like most of the other Haworthias and relatives. And it's a pretty abundant plant in the southwestern part of South Africa. This is the usual bloom time for it in summertime with this multi-branch stalk, Tulista pumila. The genus Dasylirion used to be placed in the family Nolinaceae, the Nolina family. But now the whole Nolina family has been changed in its classification from a family to a subfamily within the larger asparagus family. So now we say Asparagaceae subfamily Nolinoideae. And this plant here is Dasylirion longissimum. And so it's the narrowest sleeved of the Dasylirions, quite needle-like, very long leaves. But like all the Dasylirions, it has a very impressive tall inflorescence. So here we have on this side two male plants coming into flower with a wider profile, and two female plants back here coming into flower with a narrower profile. So the male plants always have a sort of a straw-colored, off-white flower, but the female plants change as time goes along. So they are green at this stage, but they will redden as the seeds mature, as they turn into seed pods. Very impressive plants with these extremely long leaves and very slow to trunk. So eventually they can get a trunk that's 10 feet or more tall, but that takes many years. So our plants at about 50 years of age have about 5 foot of trunk on them. So by the time you get to have a 10-foot trunk, you are really an old plant. So these Dasylirions don't bloom every year, but when they do, it's quite a sight with that very tall inflorescence with many thousands of teeny tiny flowers that attract bees. The bees are their pollinator, and the bees come in great numbers when they're in flower. Dasylirion longissimum. Cycads are a group of cone-bearing plants, and they are a very ancient lineage. So cycads were common on Earth back in the dinosaur times, even before the appearance of flowering plants. And so they are cone-bearing plants with separate male and female plants. This one here is Cycas debaoensis, and this is a male individual. The cone is rather narrow on the male and much wider on the female plant. You can't tell if a plant is a male or female until it's old enough to flower, and then the cone gives it away. So although cycads are an ancient lineage, the species we have here on Earth today are not the same ones they had back in dinosaur times. Our present-day cycads are in two families, Cycadaceae and Zamiaceae. So the family Cycadaceae has only one genus, Cycas, a very big genus that includes this plant. And so this one is from southern China, but other cycads in the family Cycadaceae also occur in other parts of East Asia, in Pacific Islands, in Australia, in South Asia, in Madagascar, and in East Africa. So they have a big distribution, but this particular species is very localized in South China. And this is the first time it's ever made a cone for us, so we're very proud of it. Cycas debaoensis. The bromeliad family, Bromeliaceae, has many plants that grow up in trees, the epiphytic bromeliads. But it also has members that grow in the ground, the terrestrial bromeliads. And the genus Dyckia, of which this is an example, is one of the terrestrial groups. So these occur in southern Brazil and southward through Uruguay, Paraguay, and eastern Bolivia, and into the northern half of Argentina. This is one of the species from southern Brazil, Dyckia hebdingii. It's really relatively new to us, and it's done very well. The rosettes are quite small and compact, kind of a bluish gray color, and the inflorescence is very tall, slender stalk with very small yellow flowers. So we've only had it for a few years, but it's really proliferated and now has 6 stalks on it at the present time. And although the flowers aren't large, they're really quite nice when you see them up close. So we'll show you a close-up view. Dyckia hebdingii. Nolina is the type genus of the family Nolinaceae. In other words, the genus that lends its name to the whole family. And now that family, Nolinaceae, has been subsumed into the asparagus family, so it's now called the subgenus Nolinoideae within the Asparagaceae. But it's the same group, however, it's parked in whatever family it's parked, and they are amazing plants. They have separate male and female plants. This one, Nolina nelsonii, that I'm standing next to, is a female, and the inflorescence is kind of greenish. The male would be more straw-colored. But in any case, the inflorescence has many thousands of flowers on it, very attractive to bees, and makes a big display when it comes up. Nolina nelsonii stands out from the other Nolinas for how blue it is. The leaves are quite blue, and so it's a wonderful garden plant. Hasn't been in horticulture all that long, but has made a big splash because of its blueness. Nolina nelsonii. That brings us to the close of our August version of What's in Bloom at the Ruth Bancroft Garden. And here I am standing underneath the incredible Agave franciscini, which is in full bloom now, and also on our What's in Bloom sheet. But note that not all of you are near enough to the Bancroft Garden to actually come and visit it. If you are, by all means, come and see all these plants for yourself and all the others that aren't on the list. And if you're not near enough, we have lots of things on our website to check out. I post photos regularly on our Tumblr account, and so you can scroll down to the bottom of our website to find the Tumblr icon and click on that and see our Tumblr postings. And then also I post plant highlights every month. And so there's many of those going back for years, highlighting different plants in the garden. We also have many educational programs and other special events at the garden. So visit our website and see what's going on at the Ruth Bancroft Garden.